Hello YouTube, what's up? My name's Lee, and I'm here to review Longlegs, and I will let you guys know if this movie actually does live up to the hype of being super duper scary, or if it's all just a bunch of hoopla. So I'm gonna play this clip, and then I'll be back with my review.
Don't move.
Man, even from just that clip, I feel like you can tell that this movie freaking rocks. Okay. So, this movie is called Longlegs, and it's directed and written by Oz Perkins. And it stars Micah Monroe, Nicolas Cage, Blair Underwood, Alicia Witt, Michelle Choi Lee, and Kiernan Shipka. So a little precursor to this is that Oz Perkins is a filmmaker who I've been interested in watching his movies for a while. They've been on my watch list on Letterboxd for a while, and I finally sat down this week to watch one before this movie came out, Longlegs, called I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. It's on Netflix, and it stars Ruth Wilson. And when that movie while I was watching it, I didn't really vibe with it that much, and I started getting a little bit nervous to see Longlegs tonight. And and I really liked the way it was shot. I really liked the way that I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House was shot and stuff like that. It had good performances and stuff, but I just didn't really vibe with it. It kind of like had a pretty slow pace, I felt like, and that there was not really a good payoff for the ending and stuff like that. It's a movie I would be interested in revisiting. And there's other movies, Gretel and Hansel and the other one that I should have looked up before I started recording, are also on my list. And to be honest with you, after seeing Longlegs, I'm going to go back and watch those other two as soon as possible. And I'm very much going to look forward to anything that Oz Perkins does in the future, because holy crap, this movie like rules. But it's also like, I found this movie extremely scary in a way that few films are. Now, how scary is this movie? It just has a sense of foreboding, and like it just gets under your skin type of scary. It's not like in your face, boo, ah, scary. It's just like the whole thing, it's just creepy. It's unsettling, you know? And by the way, if you come out of this movie and you say like, oh, it wasn't scary, it made me uncomfortable, it was unsettling, I got news for you. That means the movie worked. That means the movie is actually scary. There's different types of scary, and this is scary in the sense of, holy shit, what the fuck is happening? Oh my god. And this is one of those movies where the longer things start to unravel and stuff, the more engaging I felt it got, and the more intrigued I got by it. And also, when it was over, I was like, wow, I can't believe where this movie went, and I didn't see it coming. And this movie tackles like a lot of different things, but it has like a lot of like satanic panic, Satanism stuff in it, satanic plot type stuff going on, potentially, underlying with this case that Micah Monroe's character is investigating. She plays Agent Lee Harker, who is not psychic, but is highly intuitive, as they say. And funny enough, my name's Lee, and I really like Micah Monroe. I've been a big fan of her since that 1-2 punch in 2014 of It Follows and The Guest. Yeah, like I said, she plays a character named Lee Harker, and her birthday in this movie is the same day as my birthday, which is hilarious. This movie is wild, and man, I think the direction here is super great. It's fantastic. Like I said, one of the things that I was really impressed with I Am the Pretty Little Thing in the House, the camera movement and like the sense of like dread and foreboding that you had while you were watching that movie, even though I didn't really vibe with that one as much as this. And that applies to Longlegs as well, but it's like dialed up to an 11 in this one. And I feel the payoff at the end for this movie is so much better than that movie he has on Netflix with Ruth Wilson. I Am the Pretty Little Thing in the House, or it's got a long title. Anyway, just so much about this movie is so good. They're just locked in from the start, and it's not even like a 2-hour movie, and I felt really fulfilled with it. It's one of those movies where like I simultaneously did not want it to end, but I also wanted it to end because I was like, I want to not feel like this anymore, but at the same time, I'm fascinated at the fact that this movie has had me have goosebumps and like had the hair on the back of my neck standing up like the entire time, pretty much. Like from that opening scene, it's wild because when it first started, I was like, holy shit, I'm like locked in already. I'm like engaged in this already. And I didn't stop being engaged for the entire runtime. The entire time with this movie, I was like, this is impeccable filmmaking going on here because I am just hooked. There's times when I kind of almost forgot I was even watching a movie. I forgot to notice camera movements and stuff like that, like I'm supposed to do since I'm reviewing movies now. And I was just like so absorbed with the atmosphere and like I said, the sense of just like dread that was filling me the longer this movie progressed was fantastic. And Oz Perkins is locked in this freaking movie, man. I feel like he's got the goods. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on him from now on. He is the son of Anthony Perkins. So, you know, he is kind of familiar with the horror stuff. I mean, I really loved this. I really loved this so much. This is crazy. I know this review is kind of just going to be me gushing about this movie, but there's not really anything. There's nothing in this movie I did not enjoy. It's kind of crazy to think about with this because it's one of the few times it's like this and Furiosa and probably Dune Part 2 for me this year are the movies that like lived up to all the hype. You know what I mean? I think like it's among my top 4 for sure. You know, it's up there with like Furiosa and Dune Part 2, like I said, but also The First Omen as well, which that movie was a big surprise for me this year. The thing that's really interesting to me in this movie is how many different things are like coalescing to like make this movie what it is. So it has that like awful sense of like forebodingness and dreadfulness, but it also like looks really pretty as well. It's really, really well shot. But then you also have like all these different actors coming in and giving all these wonderful performances. And, you know, they shouldn't really gel, but they do. It's really interesting. And that just is great direction, I feel like, on the side of Oz Perkins. He's really able to mesh these different actors and their different styles together, and the way that they're approaching these characters in different ways together to make the movie feel like a cohesive whole. There's never a time when I was taken out of this when I felt like, oh, that's too much. And let me tell you, Nicolas Cage in this movie is a lot. And there's going to be people who don't vibe with his performance, particularly the people who like to do like the memes of Nicolas Cage. And don't get me wrong, I like those memes as well. I laugh at them. And there's going to be people who are going to take stuff out of this movie out of context. But I feel like with this movie, to its credit, I think if you were to take his scenes out of context and be like, oh, look how ridiculous he is, there'd be a large group of people who were like, what do you mean how ridiculous he is? This is fucking creepy. Okay? Because there's just something about his behavior, like the way he is in this movie. He's unhinged as hell, don't get me wrong. He's been unhinged before. We've seen how Nicolas Cage can get unhinged in movies, and it's great. But in this movie, he's tapping into it in an entirely different and unique way, where he's freaking terrifying, man. And I think something that really adds to it with this movie is that the way he looks in this film is a surprise. The marketing for this movie has not given away what his full face looks like in the movie. And I think that really, really helps with this a lot. And I think anyone who spoils what he looks like before the movie, you're doing yourself a disservice. Part of the horror of this movie is just like it's a small part, granted, but part of what makes this movie so scary is you're like, what does this dude, what does this fucking monstrous son of a gun look like? It worked. It worked so, like when you finally see what he looks like. And what's crazy as well is when they do reveal his like you get like a nice clear like lingering shot on his face, it's like probably when he's at his least scary, which is so fascinating to me. Such a fascinating choice. And yet, even when he was at his most unscary, I still was like, what the hell? You know? So really good credit, and hopefully this gets like I don't know how this will do at like award season or whatever, and to be real, it doesn't really matter. But I do kind of hope that it gets some kind of recognition for hair and makeup, because I thought the hair and makeup in this movie was on point. Because to be real with you, the way that Nicolas Cage looks in this movie, it could have looked like in any other movie. I feel like it would have been too much, you know. But in this one, they just made it work. They were like, boom, this works, and that's really a testament to how locked in everyone is in this film. I've seen some people, speaking of being locked in and stuff, I've seen some people compare this to like something like Alan Wake 2, and I gotta say, I do think Oz Perkins has been playing some Remedy games, because there's some stuff that he does stylistically in the way that he doles out details of things and like the weirdness of it, that is kind of similar to stuff in like Control and like Alan Wake 2. Considering I'm a big fan of Remedy, I gotta say, it seems like Oz Perkins might be as well. You know, I don't want to say he is. It could just be, you know, a coincidence, because like I said, you know, Sam Lake is a big fan of like Twin Peaks and David Lynch and stuff, and there is some Twin Peaks and David Lynch stuff in this movie as well. And there's even like some, like, I've seen people who have compared this to Silence of the Lambs, and while I was watching it, I didn't really understand where those comparisons were coming from, other than like, you know, it's a female FBI agent trying to get a serial killer, right? The basic premise of Silence of the Lambs is that, right? I was like, that's all there really is in comparison to this. But then you get to the scene, like the scenes with Micah Monroe and Nicolas Cage interacting with each other. And that is really where I think the Silence of the Lambs comparisons are coming in, because it is reminiscent of Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins in that film. It's entirely different, of course, because Micah Monroe is like a lot more reserved, I feel like, than Jodie Foster was in Silence of the Lambs. And she's got like all these like micro expressions as well. And Nicolas Cage is not doing anything close to what Anthony Hopkins is doing as Hannibal Lecter. They're two totally different characters. He's more on like the Buffalo Bill side, but even then he's a little more out there. I just really found this so fascinating and engaging, and like I said, it really, really got under my skin. And like I said, so I'm not usually scared by like supernatural horror, especially like when it comes to like Satan and demons and stuff like that. And that's one of the things I really liked about the first Omen as well earlier this year, is like, you know, there was aspects to that movie that made it scary without the demon Satan stuff. And this movie does the exact same thing, and even like grounds it and makes it even more realistic than the first Omen could do, because that movie's just, you know, dealing with like the Antichrist and stuff. But this movie deals with like Satanism and demons and the possibility of like a supernatural force in a way that feels like real, like it could be happening, you know? And it's just like, holy crap. And to make me, of all people, feel that way while I was watching the movie is really impressive. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here talking about this movie and I got like goosebumps on my arm while I'm talking about it. I don't know if y'all can see that. Probably not. Yeah, this movie just, and like, you know what's even funnier is when we sat down to watch this movie, the audience, I noticed, was really chatty. I was like, oh no, this is gonna be a chatty audience tonight, because, you know, it's a horror movie. It's a new horror movie. People like Nicolas Cage a lot, you know, and it's got a lot of buzz and hype around it. And there was actually quite a lot of people in the theater for a Thursday night at 10 p.m. showing, you know, throughout the trailers. And this movie had a great trailer showcase, by the way. It's like every single one was like a banger. It was insane. They were chatty even during the trailers, but man, when this movie started, they were chatty for maybe like a minute. And then at the same moment that I got locked in, it's like they all got locked in with me, because just a quietness came upon this theater. And I mean, it was just fascinating. And when the movie was over, I got a general sense of it, because sometimes when you're around like a lot of people, you get like the feeling of how they're feeling and stuff, and you can kind of tell how people felt about the movie as they're walking out and stuff, especially if you're like listening and paying attention and everything. And a lot of people seemed really like unsettled by this, and that's really impressive, because a lot of times in movies like this, with horror movies in particular, when they go into like a more artistic direction, a lot of times like general audiences leave more disappointed because they're like, oh well, I wanted like this and this, you know, why are there no jump scares, blah blah blah. There is a few times when like Nick Cage like makes you laugh, but that's like intentional, that's entirely intentional on the point of Nicolas Cage. Like there's one part in particular that I just couldn't help but laugh, but then he immediately, it's so crazy, he made me laugh and then immediately I was terrified of him. It's kind of crazy. So, and there's lots of like twists and turns in this that you're like, wow, what in the world? I can't believe that it's going this way and stuff like that. And it's just constantly engaging. It's constantly doling out information in a way where you're like, wow, you just can't wait to see what the next thing that's going to happen is going to be. It's fantastic, but you're also like scared the whole time as well because it has a sense of like foreboding and dread throughout the entire thing. And like I said, this creeped underneath my skin, man. I'm still kind of like reeling a little bit from it. And I do want to talk about some of the performances here, as well as like some aesthetics. So Micah Monroe, of course, is fantastic. I think she's been fantastic in everything, including that like awful like Independence Day sequel that she was in. She was really good in that as well. I think she is like a bona fide movie star, but you know, I'm glad that she's doing a lot of this genre stuff because she really brings a lot to these movies. And I'm hoping that become like that big movie star that she has the potential to be. But I also kind of like that she is doing these like genre pictures and like these artistic films and stuff as well. So I'm kind of torn on, I'm like, maybe she can do both. I don't know. But she's fantastic. I'm always going to be excited to see her in anything that she is in. And yeah, she's the anchor of this movie. She is the main character. And what's interesting is, as like wild and crazy and over the top as Nicolas Cage is, even when they have their scenes together, they're like playing off of each other. They're not taking attention away from the other one. It's like excellent scene work between the two of them in this movie, to be honest. And really like shows how different acting styles and approaches can gel perfectly together as long as like the writing and stuff and everything is there to go along with it. So, I think that's fantastic. Of course, Nicolas Cage, I've already talked a lot about him in this movie. He's used effectively, but sparingly. And I think that's great. And by the time it gets to his penultimate scene, you're on the edge of your seat. You're like, holy crap, give me more of this guy right now. And there was part of me that almost felt like there wasn't enough of him. But at the same time, I wouldn't ask for any more because you get like just like a scooch more of him and the movie becomes like a totally different beast at that point, right? And I gotta say, credit to Oz Perkins for having restraint when it comes to that, because I like, even myself as like, if I was making this movie, or like another filmmaker as well, like someone who actually has like real experience and stuff, I feel like even would have fallen into that trap of, oh my God, Nicolas Cage is so electric here. Let's get him some more scenes, But Oz Perkins is very much like it's a lot. I think that's also where some of the Silence of the Lambs comparisons are coming as well, because like Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs is used sparingly as well. Anthony Hopkins, of course, won the Oscar for that movie. I don't know if Nicolas Cage will be able to do that with this one. Like I said, I don't really think it matters too much because regardless of what happens come awards season, in my opinion, this is immediately not only a must-see movie in theaters, but I think it's one of the best movies of the goddamn year so far. And to be real with you, I kind of didn't expect that. I did not expect this to end up being one of my favorite movies of the year. I really didn't. I thought I was going to really like it. Maybe. I was like kind of nervous going into this. I was like, oh man, is this not going to live up to the hype? But it did, man. It really did. I kind of can't believe how many movies this year are like just knocking it out of the freaking park. It's kind of crazy. Like we're only in like the beginning of July here, and I feel like I've got like a pretty solid list of like, I could already name like probably like at least 5 or 6 films that I'm gonna want to put on my like favorite of the year list. Honestly, possibly even decade. I can't believe it. I'm just like sitting here reeling from this movie. I was having such a hard time condensing and coalescing my thoughts because I just got so much in my head going on. Oh, another performance I want to talk about, and I think he might get a little bit overlooked just because of everything else that's going on in this movie, for Blair Underwood. He's playing more of like a typical FBI agent, but he's doing such a good job at it, man. And it's nice to see him get like a part like this, and he's really eating it up. And man, they do like a fun gag with him, kind of, sort of, in this movie where like they frame him with like a picture of like with like a picture of someone else in the background, you know, like prominently displayed in the background too. And I thought that was really really interesting. So, and I think well, upon rewatch I might pick up on this better, but I think it's supposed to like kind of almost show the direction his character is, like be a kind of like almost guide you in a way of like showing you where his character is going in the story, you know. But I might be wrong on that. Like I said, I'm gonna rewatch this on Saturday with my friends. I'm very excited to see what their reaction is. So in the FBI office, I won't tell you what all the pictures are, but in the FBI office, for example, he just got Bill Clinton's picture prominently displayed right behind him, like almost every scene he's in the FBI building. Which leads me to the aesthetics of this movie. So this movie takes place in the 90s. They do not come out and tell you what year in the 90s. At least I don't think so. Maybe I missed it. But they make it very clear to you that it's the 90s through stuff like the Bill Clinton picture, as well as like the types of phones that they're using, how they're dressing, the cars they're driving, stuff like that. So it really builds this like really cool vibe aesthetically and everything. And then to add to that, the environments that they're entering and the buildings that they're in and stuff really, really draws you in. And it just like, you're just like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, that looks cool. That looks cool. The like lair that Nicolas Cage is in, the house that Micah Monroe lives in is one of the best movie houses of all time, I feel like, by the way. It's this really cool, like, cabinish design. It kind of reminds me, actually, of what I'm in right now, where it's got, like, this, like, wood, you know, but it's, like, real wood. It's not like this. But it's got, like, this, like, it's, like, this, like, cabinish vibe, and she's got all these, like, cool lights, and the way they bounce off of the wood and stuff is so cool looking, and she's got, like, these big windows, and she's in the forest. Really neat house. I was like, wow. Like, being an FBI agent really must pay super well, because that's a dope house. Her mom's house as well is really cool. It's very lived in. Her mom has a line in the movie about how like she's kept everything, you know, she's kind of like almost a hoarder in that way. And I think that's really interesting as well. Just a lot of really cool aesthetics in this movie. I love the way the cars look. I love the way people are dressing in it. Just the entire thing is so cool. And I'm sitting here talking about this movie, and I'm like, I'm feeling the tingle because of that feeling right there. It's the same thing I had with Furiosa as well when I was talking about it. And I regretted putting in my video giving Furiosa 4.5 stars. I ended up bumping it up on my Letterboxd to 5. This one, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm going to go ahead and give the Longlegs 5 stars out of 5. This I thought was fantastic. And to be real with you, so far it's the scariest movie of the year. There's been quite a few horror movies that have come out. I think it's going to remain the scariest movie of the year. Granted, it's not jump scare heavy. It's just, there's just a sense of dread the whole time you're watching it. And to me, that means it's an effective horror movie. And there's very few horror movies that are able to keep this type of like feeling unsettled and uncomfortable and just the forebodingness throughout the entire runtime. Very few so many horror movies wish they could do what this movie's doing. For that, I gotta give it 5 stars. I thought this was fantastic. I kind of can't wait to see it again, but at the same time, I'm like, do I really want to? So I loved it. I think you guys, if you're watching this review, I think you'll love it as well. But, you know, if you see it and you watch this video and you have some thoughts that you want to share with me on it, please, by all means, leave that down in the comments down below. Anyway, guys, I'll be back with more videos. I was going to try to review Fly Me to the Moon, but to be honest with you, I was looking at it and I was like, I'd rather like play some more Dark Souls, because I started playing that. I'm going to have a Dark Souls video up on my channel soon, as well as a Multiverses video. The Concord beta is this weekend, so I'll be playing that and giving my first thoughts as well in a video. And of course, all the video games that I play, or at least for the most part, I stream over on Twitch at twitch.tv/thedastardLeebatman. You can go there and watch the streams. My stream schedule is crazy and all over the place right now because my job, I gotta find time like in between like my job and personal life. So I don't have like a set schedule, which is unfortunate. You know, just go over there and follow me and hit the little notification button. Or, you know, if you don't want to watch stuff on Twitch, then you can wait a week and the full VOD, unedited, goes up on my other YouTube channel, Blended Caramel, which is a channel where I just kind of post whatever I want. Mostly I've been posting VODs there lately. I usually try to stream my movie reviews, although lately, just because of like scheduling stuff and everything, I haven't had the time to like, you know, review a movie on stream consistently like I was doing before, because I used to like doing like reviewing a movie and then playing a game right after. And I'm hoping to get back to that, but stuff's been kind of crazy for me, like just at work and in life in general and stuff. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, subscribe, please. I'm trying to reach my new goal. My goal for this year was to hit 50 subscribers. We've hit way past that. I think we're at 102. So now my new goal for this year is to hit 500. So here's to 500, hopefully. So I'll be back later with more videos. Peace. Go see Longlegs this weekend.